to Alzheimer Society's first ever Jokes on You Dementia comedy gig, brought to you by the magic of YouTube and the internet. I am your host, Jackie Weaver. But clearly not. I'm Hugh Dennis. And because I'm host, I've got all these notes here, quite a lot of which are housekeeping. And that's the first thing I'm going to do. First of all, clearly, I have to thank our sponsors for this evening. And they are McKesson UK and Lloyd's Pharmacy. Now, it's often said that laughter is the best medicine, but as healthcare providers, they are presumably hoping that simply isn't the case, because if it is, their business model is shot to pieces. Anyway, thank you very much to them, because without them, we simply wouldn't be here. Secondly, I would like to say, we can't see you, clearly we can't see you, but we would love to see your beautiful faces. So if you want to, you can post pictures of your friends and family, just be a bit careful with those photos. That's all I'm saying. And you can share them on social media on the hashtag #JokesOnYouDementia. You can also, if you want to, you can send us your favourite jokes so we can steal them and use them next year. Also, just want to have a quick word about why we're here. Now, the last year that we have all lived through has clearly intensified the everyday challenges faced by people with dementia. And that's both people living with it themselves and their carers. We are currently all experiencing the impact of having to stay at home, but that's really a reality that people affected by dementia face all the time. So your support, and please do support, your support will fund Alzheimer Society's Lifeline telephone and online services, where trained dementia advisors can offer expert advice or simply a listening ear. If you would like to make a donation, and please do make a donation if you can, but if you would like to make a donation, the details on how to make it are at the bottom of the video. They're sort of here somewhere. I can't see it at all. Or you can find the details in your digital programme. So that's it. That's the end of the housekeeping. Let's get on with the laughs. Let's put the joke firmly on dementia. Now, we have 4 fantastic comics. Look, here they all are. Yeah. Let's see who remembered to unmute themselves. Hello, Stephen Bailey.
Hello, Hugh.
You are looking very suave tonight, if I might say so.
Thank you. I've put makeup on and a suit for the Alzheimer Society. This is a big deal, Hugh.
It certainly is, Stephen. It's career highlights all round, I think. We're also graced tonight by the presence of the hilarious, fantastic, wonderful comedian, Lucy Porter.
Hello, Hugh.
How are you this evening, Lucy?
I am fine. You are looking great, if I can just say so. Obviously, being locked away suits you. We should send you to prison for a few years.
Why was I so nice to you? Our next comic clearly needs no introduction, although that is obviously what I am doing at the moment. It is Joe Brand.
What's it, Hugh? How you doing? All right?
I'm very good, Joe. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, all right, I suppose. I don't like standing up for this long. I'd forgotten what a joy it is.
And that cackle, which I can hear from the ether, can only mean one thing, and that is Ishan Akbar.
Hi, Hugh.
How are you, Ishan?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm quite excited about this little background I've got. It's the best my wall's ever looked.
Now, I should explain at this stage, in order to add even more sparkle and glamour to this auspicious occasion, I spared no expense and bought each of our comedians a backdrop like this one. Class, isn't it? These were very popular in the doorways of caravans in the 1970s. I see. So, Lucy, you've got a sort of purpley one, I think?
Yes, thank you. I absolutely love this. I've zhuzhed myself up a bit. I've put lipstick on. My husband didn't know what was going on. He hasn't seen me in lipstick at all. He just thought I'd been eating beetroot straight from the jar again.
And Ishan, but are you finding it easy to work with?
Having this background with one of these in my hand is going to make things very, very difficult, because she is going to want to play with it, aren't you, Nimki? Aren't you?
Never work with animals,
You're
Ishan.
going to want to play with this, aren't you?
So, Joe, you've got a beautiful sort of bronze, goldy one. Did I choose correctly for you?
Well, I am quite pleased with it, and actually I used to have a pair of pants that looked like that, and they were that size as well.
Excuse me, why has Joe got the gold curtain and I've got this? Like a shitty mermaid's tail. Why don't I get a gold curtain?
So, anyway, that's enough of that. It's time to get on with our first act.
Yes, let's jolly well get on with it.
I'm ready to tell dick jokes.
And it is none other than Stephen Bailey.
Thank you. Hi guys, thanks so much for having me. Now, a lot of comedians are moaning about these Zoom gigs, but I quite like them. I'm very much enjoying them because I don't have to leave the house. I can just sit here with my fabulous curtain. And I will say this, the reason I'm okay with it is because my last few gigs before we went into the pandems was not great. First of all, I was in Glasgow at the start of 2020, and normally when I do a gig, I like to find out my demographic. But when I went out there, I just went out and I went, "Where me gays?" And this voice at the back of the room just went, "Dead!" So now I don't bother asking. It's weird to put in, and you don't know what's coming. And then, here's the other thing, right? After Glasgow, I went to Blackpool. I don't know if you've been to Blackpool, but it's kind of like Las Vegas meets Chernobyl. It's not good. And what I like is when we go to all these different places, how different you all are. Like here, for the Alzheimer Society, of course, we've got a lovely bunch. I bet you're all beautiful. In Blackpool, we have this policy that's teeth optional. And it's very different. Like I say, you lot on this call, you're going to have all your teeth. In Blackpool, it was very gummy. I didn't know what to do with it. I don't know about you lot, but we've all been in everyone's lockdown has been so different, hasn't it? So the thing is, I've actually been locked down with my partner, which is fine. Right, so his name's Rich, and he's a lawyer, which I think is very smart on my part. And we've actually like each other more after all these lockdowns. Like, we developed these little pet names for each other. Like, he started calling me his little monkeykins, and I started calling him my furlough. And the thing is, we met online. So I'm a big believer of online dating. I say to him all the time, look, we are proof that online dating does work. It's completely possible to meet someone else in their 30s that's completely given up hope. And I said to him, I was like, listen, I'm going to say this about you to the Alzheimer's people. And he was like, Stephen, say whatever you want. I didn't even mean to swipe right. I was just trying to get jam off my screen. So this is the life I live now. This is the life. I'm in love. And it's not quite what I promised, because all I ever wanted from life was a relationship like my parents, because they've been together forever because they're brother and sister. I'm northern, but I'm not that northern. Thank you. And before, I must say, my parents are very, very funny characters. Like, my dad, he's in his 60s, he's a plumber, he's lived on the same council estate his whole life, but he's absolutely fine with the gay thing. If anything, he just takes the piss out of me a little bit. And I'm a big singer in the shower. I don't know about you guys, but this is when my inner Beyonce comes out. Of course it does. So when I was staying with my parents, when it was last legally allowed, I was in the shower and singing my favourite Beyonce song, If I Were a Boy. But I was really going for it. So I'm in the shower like, if I were a boy, dun, 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 even just for a day. And my dad walked past and went, I'd be really bloody happy. So this is what I'm dealing with. Okay, and then my mum, she's no better. My mum is ridiculous. I don't know if you've learnt from me yet, just a few minutes in, but my vocabulary is not very expansive. And normally, like, when I don't know what to say, I say, and shit. So when I speak to Rich afterwards, I'm like, oh, I did this gig for the Alzheimer Society, it raised loads of money, keep donating, and shit. And that's just how I form a sentence. And I get it from my mum, because she's always getting her words confused. So for example, my cousin Michelle is a celiac, which means she's scared of bread. And whenever we go for a family meal, you know, we have to cater for that, obviously. And it was my turn the last time we were legally allowed. And you have to say that now, because otherwise people come after you with a hashtag and I can't bear it. But we went for this meal and it was my turn to book, and my mum rang up and went, Stephen, don't forget, it's £25 per person per head, and we've got to cater for our Michelle because she's one of those necrophiliacs. I am sorry, Wendy, but she is not shagging dead people. She's just scared of a bit of bread and butter. Do you know what I mean? So that's my mother. And even though I take the mick out of my mum, you know, I always say a comedian's roast is a comedian's toast. If we roast you, it actually means we really like you. I'm sure Hugh or Joe can testify. And I said to my mum, like my mum's got fibromyalgia, which is like this chronic disease of the bones, and she never ever moans because she's that northern woman, stiff upper lip. But when she does, I don't really know what to do apart from to make her laugh because I'm not a doctor. And when I was staying with them, and it was really cold, it was one Christmas, and Mum was like, "Oh God, Stephen, my fibromyalgia is so painful today." And I went, "Wendy, if you think that's painful, you should try anal." And she went, "I have." And my dad went, "With who?" It was quite a moment. It was quite a moment. I will tell you this, do you know, because a lot of comedians are from Oxbridge, and I can't bear it and talk about it all the time, but I think Hugh is, sorry Hugh, but I actually had a proper job before I got into all this nonsense, and I used to work in a supermarket, and honest to God, guys, I was the best checkout chick you'd ever seen. The queues to my checkout, well, it was nearly as long as the queues to get onto this Zoom call tonight, and it's because old women really love me, right? Because they'll have a laugh, have a bit of banter, you say you want to sleep with their husbands, they love all that stuff. But it got to a point where I had regulars, right? So, for example, I had Doreen, and she would come in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. like clockwork after she'd been to doctors being a hypochondriac. And she would march right up to my checkout, and she'd be like, "Oh, Stephen, who have you been shagging this weekend in the gay village?" I'd be like, "Doreen, your son." I think it's really important, to be honest, with the elderly, because you don't want anyone to die in a lie, do you know what I mean? Even though I mock everyone and everything, I do have a nice heart, and I will say the hardest thing I found during this lockdown is being away from my family, because my sister's just had a little baby and it's her first one, and I love him so much. I love being an uncle, and I really tip my hat to her because I think obviously it's really hard being a parent, it's really hard being a new parent, and you know, I can give him back, and I found it difficult, you know, like even trying to feed him is very difficult. Like I just couldn't get him to latch. Now, earlier I was talking about relationships, and I wanted to say, and I did mention how everyone's been doing it differently in lockdown, and I want to speak about my best mate, Natalie, right? So Natalie is the best. She's 34, she owns her own house, she's got the job she wants, she's got the car she wants. The only thing she's missing that she feels like she needs is the husband. So she's been doing the online dating during lockdown, but it's meant she's got a little bit gullible and is believing whatever they tell her. So, for example, she was talking to this guy, Irish Patrick, online, and he told her that she only looks 18 and she's not looked 18 since she was 12. And for me, I think one of the huge issues is it's very hard to meet people nowadays, and it is very hard to meet people because everyone's gone very shallow and vacuous, because that's just the society we're in. That's true. And it's very hard in the gay community, because now the gays, and don't turn on me gays, I'm not having it, do not turn on me, but the gays now, they all just want to fuck Thor. They do, they just want to fuck Thor. They want the perfect tan, the perfect six-pack, the big dick, and I'm just not shallow in that way. I'd rather know what somebody earns. And I will say, for me, I loved dating now. I really had a good sense of humour with dating, and I always think about my first boyfriend, because we were together for 3 years between the ages 16 and 19, and we actually ended up breaking up because he ended up going into the Navy, and then he came out straight, which is the wrong way round. And I think the thing with him is, I was definitely punching. Like, he was definitely, in my opinion, a Hollywood 10, whereas I'm more of a Manchester 6 after an Aperol Spritz. But, you know, people just have to take what they can get. Look at me now. I'm a minor celebrity, star of Channel 5. He's got kids. Who's the real winner? Sweetheart. And I know, some of you, people that come to these nice charity gigs want nice material, and I am a heathen, so I'm going to do my Radio 4 bit. Because I actually have a degree, I know, shock to the room, and normally I'd say, "What do you think my degree is in?" But you can't answer back, so just shout it to your screen. Yeah, that's right, Janice. I do have a degree in French. I actually, when I was in When I was once in Birmingham, I went out there, right, and I was like, oh, what do you think my degree's in? And this guy just went, drama. And I was like, homophobe. I actually do have a degree in French, right? And I think it's really shocking. And I started learning French really young, when I was like 8 or something in primary school. And our French teacher, to help it sink in our brain, used to play these little games with us. And one of the games was that we had to draw a name out of the hat, and that would be our French name for the rest of term, right? So I withdrew Marcel. And she taught me that if anyone ever asked the question, comment tu t'appelles, my response should be, je m'appelle Marcel. Now, I got all the way to degree level in 2 trips to Paris with that knowledge and no one correcting me. And I go into my lecture on the first day at uni, and the professor was like, bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? And I was like, this is going to be very easy. I was like, bonjour, je m'appelle Marcel. He's like, no, comment tu t'appelles? I was like, je m'appelle Marcel. He's like, no, comment tu t'appelles? I was like, je m'appelle Marcel. He's like, no, comment tu t'appelles? I was like, je m'appelle Marcel. He's like, no, comment tu t'appelles? And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You said you were French. I was like, je m'appelle Marcel. He's like, no, comment tu t'appelles? What is your name? I was like, je m'appelle Marcel. My name is Stephen. That normally gets applause. I'm assuming you're all applauding at home, because it's a very clever joke. If anything, it's not that clever because I got it wrong. It's funny because I'm always like, people always think I'm like rough as houses, because of my accent, but then I've got this degree in French, and I go out with a lawyer. If anything, I'm highbrow at this part of the game, and especially when I hang out with Rich's friends, they're all way posher than I can ever hope to be. So, for example, he's got this mate and he's called Mark with a C. He's not even French. And he is very, very well-to-do. And so when we're picking a restaurant, you have to cater for it. And when we were back in Sheffield, in brackets before lockdown, and we were trying to find somewhere where we could go and eat, but that would be suitable for someone of Mark's status, right? And we're walking around, we're going, oh, can't go there. And eventually Mark with a C just got really hangry and was like, oh, for God's sake, can't we just pick anyway? Why can't we go in here, this Yates? And it was Yates. And I was like, yeah, let's take Mark with a C to Yates, because he's going to love wine on tap. I really want to tell you about my mum and dad's first time in London, because they only came for the first time 2 years ago, and I've lived here for 10 years. And my mum and dad really don't get London or the big attraction. They think it's really, really posh and fancy. And I was like, where can I take them that's not going to make them uncomfortable? So I just took them to a bar in Soho, little gastro pub. And my mum, first of all, came, she was wearing her new Dorothy Perkins top, which was very, highbrow for her. And also, she wore a bra, which she never ever does. No, honestly, my mum refuses to wear a bra because we're council. And she was like, why do I need to wear a bra, Stephen? And I'm like, to keep your nipples off the gravel, bitch. And that's what I'm normally dealing with. So I took her to this gastro pub in Soho with the gays, and we had waiter service, and this was very exciting to her because she's used to go into one of those places, where you go up, you put your order in, they give you a wooden spoon, and they find you 3 days later. And because they don't know the number 99. And so my mum sat there, she's excited, new Dorothy Perkins top, boobs are up, bums out, she sat there, she's perusing through the menu, and then the guy's coming over to take her order, and she was like, dead excited, she felt like the queen. So the little waiter went, right, what can I get you, madam? Are you ready to order? And she went, yes, I will have the club chicken sandwich 12, please. And I was like, 12 is the fucking price. This is what I'm dealing with. Thanks so much for having me. You guys have been really lovely, I think. I have no idea. I'm just performing this into a phone, like when I used to do porn. Hope you'll keep donating. I don't know how it works, but just give loads of money to the Alzheimer Society. Thanks for having me. I've been Stephen. Bye!
Thank you, Stephen Bailey. Now, Stephen didn't quite know how to donate there, but I can tell you, if you look at the bottom of your screen, all the details are there, or it's in your digital programme. It's somewhere there, isn't it? It's definitely somewhere there. We're also tonight having a fantastic prize draw with some fantastic prizes. Let me just tell you what they are. Yes, they're including opportunities to see more of Joe and Stephen and myself. I don't even know what that means or if I've actually signed up for it, but apparently Apparently that is one of the prizes that is available. If you'd like to get your tickets, please visit alzheimers.org.uk/prize-draw. Entries will close tomorrow at 12 p.m. and the team will be in contact with the winners in the coming days. So do that. Time for our second act now. None other than Lucy Porter.
Hello, lovely people. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. A pleasure to be talking to anyone who's not in my immediate family, quite honestly, because boy, we have run out of things to talk to each other about over the last 12 months. I hope you're all bearing up okay. I feel quite lucky, actually. I've had a relatively easy lockdown. The only thing that's been difficult for me is homeschooling my children. I've got a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I am not exaggerating when I say that we were doing some maths the other day, and I was thinking it would have been easier just to teach my cats how to play the jazz clarinet than to try and do the basics of algebra with my children, mainly because I don't understand it myself, to be honest. So anyway, I mean, it's fine. Actually, homeschooling is relatively easy as long as you don't care about the facts. So I have taught my children that Queen Victoria was Winston Churchill's drag name, and that mixing me a gin and tonic is a very important scientific experiment, and things are going a lot better now. So it has been a weird time, and I was going to talk to you today about, I think it's been strange trying to explain to my kids about coronavirus and what's going on, but I thought, how much weirder is it going to be when we have to explain this time to people in the future who didn't live through it? Like, I thought, if I have grandchildren, if I'm lucky enough to have grandchildren in 20, 30 years time, whatever, how will I explain the coronavirus times to them? And what I've done is I've written a letter, and this is what I think I will say to my grandchildren in 2041 or whatever. So here we go. What's that, little one? You want to know what it was like in the coronavirus times? Well, basically at first we all thought we'd be fine if we carried a hanky and sang happy birthday while we washed our hands. But that turned out not to be enough, and we didn't know what else to do, so we all bought toilet paper until it ran out. And then we stayed at home and did quizzes on Zoom, except nobody asked the one question they really wanted to ask, which was, can I borrow some toilet paper? And then the paper shortage got even worse, because we all started putting pictures of rainbows in our windows in case any passing doctors and nurses wanted to see a picture of a rainbow. And then on Thursday nights we started clapping out of our windows for the doctors and nurses who couldn't hear us because they were saving lives in hospitals or at home trying to get some sleep. After that we tried banging pots and pans, setting off fireworks and making a nice old man walk round and round his garden until we all cried. And all the schools were closed for a while, and lots of mummies and daddies who'd always thought teaching was a really easy job and made fun of teachers for having really long holidays suddenly had to help their own children with their schoolwork. And suddenly they didn't think teaching was an easy job anymore, and they realised that teachers should get more money, even longer holidays, and be allowed to turn up to school drunk on a Monday morning if they wanted to. And people had to find new ways of working from home, which largely involved everyone doing video meetings wearing nice smart shirts with manky pyjama bottoms and disgusting old slippers. And if they got bored, or if someone asked a difficult question, they just pretended that their internet had gone off and they went back to bed. And everybody thought that staying indoors would be a great opportunity to do things they'd always meant to get round to, like learning a language or taking up a hobby. But what actually happened was that many loaves of sourdough bread were made, and lots of people did the first few levels of Spanish on Duolingo before everyone just gave up and watched Netflix and started drinking at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we thought we'd all be stuck inside forever. But then they said we could go out as long as we wore a mask. And some people really didn't want to wear a mask, but most of us didn't mind wearing a mask. We just didn't know how to do it properly. So you'd get on the train and see a lot of people with their noses poking out of their masks, or people wearing fetching chin hammocks or dangly cloth bracelets. And then they said it was our patriotic duty to go to the pub and gave us Eat Out to Help Out, which was a name we all found really funny for reasons you'll understand when you're older. And we all started feeling a bit more cheerful. But then they announced another lockdown and there was a lot of confusion, and the government spent 3 days arguing about whether a Scotch egg was a whole dinner or just a really classy starter. And people were very gloomy about the idea of being stuck inside all winter and not seeing our families at Christmas, even when that usually involved driving for 10 hours to sleep on the put-you-up bed your mother-in-law had bought from a prisoner of war camp in 1968. But at least people did stay in their homes over Christmas. Admittedly, that was mainly because they'd each eaten a £14 turkey to themselves after everyone's plans changed. A lot of us were in a food coma until early February. But then the clever scientists announced that they'd found some vaccines. And eventually things got back to normal. And we all found we had a lot more respect for doctors and nurses and teachers and people who work in supermarkets or deliver things to our homes. Although the main thing we all thought was, gosh, I wish I'd bought shares in Zoom or Deliveroo in 2019. Yes, we were all changed by our coronavirus experiences. And that, children, is why Granny can speak just 40 words of Spanish, only ever wears elasticated trousers, hoards hundreds of rolls of toilet paper in her house, and always has her first gin at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's sadly true. So yeah, I hope things are going to get better. I mean, there will be things that I'll miss from lockdown, not having people around your house. Oh, I mean, it's not great, but in some ways, when you're as messy as I am, it's very good not having people coming around to the house. I am so bad at cleaning and tidying. Some people say, oh, my house, it's messy, but it's clean. Mine is both messy and filthy. It's horrific. I remember my mum, before my mum passed away, she came round to my house and she was standing in my kitchen. She went, oh, Lucy, do you know what? It's so lovely how relaxed you are about hygiene. Which is absolutely true, isn't it? There have been some good things about lockdown, though. I think that people got pets, which is nice. I think everyone should have a pet. We've got cats, rescue cats. I always say they're rescue cats just because I think it makes me sound like a better person. Like people are going to go, oh, have you heard about Lucy Porter? Yeah, she rescues cats. Yeah, she's actually something of a living saint, which obviously is nonsense, as anyone who has a rescue cat will tell you. If you get a rescue cat, then the charity will microchip the cat for free, they vaccinate them for free, they neuter them for free. Basically, getting a rescue cat is just getting a really good deal on a second-hand cat. And often rescue cats have had quite a hard start in life. And I think it's quite nice to adopt them because, cats have such notoriously high self-esteem. It's quite good to get one that's been brought down a peg or two. So what other things have people been doing? People have been gardening. That's good. The nation's gardens have never looked better. I did try to grow a little lockdown garden. Nothing worked. I tried courgettes. Everyone says you can grow courgettes. Mine didn't take. Potatoes, couldn't even grow those. The only thing I did manage to grow was a little herb garden, and we're quite middle class, so I thought, well, this is fine. In the event of social breakdown, we'll have pesto. It'll be fine. But even that went wrong because I'd done these little trays of herbs in the garden, and the cats obviously saw those, and they were like, oh, lovely. She has provided an outdoor litter tray with fragrant potpourri, and it was, they started pooing in the herbs, which was, and then they started eating them as they were pooping. It was admittedly, it was quite nice that they were eating the herbs because I thought, well, in the event that society does break down, at least, when we eat the cats, they'll have been marinating themselves. Sorry, that got a bit dark, didn't it? Listen, I am looking forward to lockdown being over, and I have some predictions for the coming 12 months, right? I think things are on the up, and I think things are going to be different going forward. So I wanted to share with you some of my predictions for 2021 and beyond. So the first thing I predict is that Dominic Cummings will be back in the public eye after his next career move, launching the world's first combined opticians and driving test centre. England's Chief Medical Officer, Sir Chris Whitty. God, we've seen a lot of him. I think he will build on his newfound fame and release this year's #1 Christmas single. Yeah, possibly something by the vaccines or the cure, maybe just 2 metres away in a manger, who knows. I think all the companies that have sprung up to meet the demand for alcohol hand gel will suddenly result in some really disgusting new brands of artisanal gin. I think Donald Trump will declare his own separate Trump States of America, largely centred around his golf course in Florida, but it won't result in civil war when he realises how much a full-scale battle would mess with his immaculate hair. I think there will be so many different vaccines on offer that people will start to get really snobbish about them. I think everyone who used to be really into craft ales will be there going, well, yeah, of course, it does protect against the virus, but none of the ingredients are organic, and I think you can actually really tell. I think since nobody's been able to go to football matches and we've all just been at home watching the telly, this year the authorities will see sense and the final of Bake Off will be held in Wembley Stadium instead of the FA Cup. I'm rooting for that. I think Netflix will finally make the breakthrough and produce a series that is short enough so that binge watching it doesn't ruin an entire weekend and stop you from making essential repairs to your house or remembering to feed your own children. I think after the success of clapping for the NHS, we'll start doing one-offs for any job we think deserves it. Deliveroo drivers, people who offer to carry a pushchair up some stairs, just putting up a shelf. Round of applause for you. I think there'll be so much uncertainty still about whether schools are open or not that the government will launch St Schrodinger's Comprehensive. It's a brand new school that may or may not be open, but will at least take the kids off your hands for 5 years, seal them in a box, and they might come out on the other side with a few GCSEs or certainly an MVQ in quantum mechanics. I think working from home will continue to be popular, but people will find more exciting ways of working from home. I mean, working from home is all very well, but what about working from someone else's home? Okay, your company gives you another employee's address, and if you can hide for a week in their attic without being noticed, you get a £500 bonus. Could catch on. I think that all the new relationships that flourished over video calls will immediately break up when it turns out he's not such a good listener when he hasn't been accidentally muted for the first half hour. And finally, I think that when we do all get the vaccine, we'll all go out and we'll mingle freely for exactly one weekend, going, God, isn't this amazing? And then it will start raining and we'll all go, oh, actually, sod it, and go back inside to our box sets and gym. So whatever the coming year holds, I hope it's good to you, and sending lots of love.
How important is laughter to your well-being and living with a dementia diagnosis?
I live with dementia every day, but laughter makes me happy. It keeps me focused on my health. I'm a positive person, but a good joke will make me smile and chuckle all day.
No laughter in your life, the sun won't shine.
What makes you laugh?
The things that make John laugh, he loves watching Dad's Army and that sort of thing, and thinks that I should be there laughing with him. We laugh at some of the crazy things he does, like I give him his toothbrush to brush his teeth, and he brushes his hair, so he ends up with blue streaks in his hair because the toothpaste has gone through. And he can laugh with me at things like that.
How important is it to you to stay connected to your community?
People I know and know me treat me as a person and not a person with dementia, which I think is really important.
Very, 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 very important, because the Alzheimer's community, that because we're all in the same boat, that's why we understand each other.
How have Alzheimer's Society's virtual services helped you stay connected?
We still have dementia cafes online. There's also a singing group online. And which all helps to keep, because when I got diagnosed, I was told that as long as I can keep my brain active, then I will live a long time. And I'm still here.
I personally would like to thank the Alzheimer's Society for all the help and encouragement they give us. So please keep the contributions going.
Alzheimer's Society has provided us with a real bridge connecting us to the wider community. The amount of research that they do, the services that they provide are absolutely invaluable. Whatever you feel you can give, please do, and that would be so much appreciated. Thank you.
And to all those that have contributed, can I say thank you.
tell us a joke?
Why do bees hum? Because they've forgotten the words.
I quit my job as a postman after they handed me the first letter. I looked at it and thought, this isn't for me.
My wife accused me of having zero empathy. I don't understand why she feels that way.
So thank you to Lucy Porter, and also thank you for that video, which we hope gave you some insight into the importance of community and laughter for Ananga, Peter and Sue, and how having people around them for support is getting them through these tough times. And they really are very tough times. For people affected by dementia, life has become even more difficult during the pandemic. Carers have had their extra support cut, and they're often with their loved ones for 24/7 because that is what's been required. And people living with dementia themselves have often lost confidence and connection to the world around them. So please have a laugh and enjoy the rest of the evening. But if you feel able to, do please make a donation to enable people affected by dementia to continue to receive critical expert advice and emotional support. So thank you. Right now, on with the show. So we've all heard Lucy Porter's predictions for the future, which basically seem to involve drinking gin at 4 in the afternoon. I myself am looking forward to the return of the rule of 6, where people can just start drinking at 6 as opposed to earlier in the day. Anyway, it's now time for our third act, and it is none other than Ishan Akbar.
Hi everyone, my name is Ishan Akbar. It's so nice to be here to be doing this for the Alzheimer Society, and I realise that on a screen this size and my face looking like this is right now, I look like the acceptable face for terrorism. Can you imagine? Can you imagine there was an attack and then you saw a video with me turning up, a background as snazzy as this, being like, guys, we told you to stop drinking. You'd all be like, well, they told us to stop drinking. But it's really nice to be here with you. I just want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very happy Lent, or as I like to call it, Ramadan for weak people. Oh, God, the amount of people doing that. Oh, I'm going to give up crunchy bars for 40 days. All right, that's fine, I understand. Try not drinking or not eating for a whole day for 30 days, sunrise to sunset. Oh, Lent is so hard. I'm joking, though. If you have given up something for Lent, congratulations, but you are a weak Muslim. Now, but it has been like a year, I think, where people have tried to use the opportunity to reflect on things and to do things a bit differently. There might be house renovations like I've been doing. You've been trying to learn a new skill. You've been trying to make big, significant changes about who you are as a person. So I used this opportunity to make some changes of my own. I decided to change my mobile phone contract. Now, they transferred me to an Indian call centre. Now, I'm going to wade into this, right? I hate them, right? I absolutely detest them. The call centres. Not the Indians, just to be clear. I know I'm of Pakistani and Bangladeshi descent, but this is not that kind of comedy show. Come to another one another time. So I called this Indian call centre. Now, here's what happened. I gave him the 0 of my mobile phone number. He was fine with that. Got to the 7, and this guy did not understand 7, no matter how I said it. I said 7 in so many different ways. And guys, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not proud of it, but I am happy about the outcome. I did a racism, okay? On the phone to this Indian call centre, I went, 7. I did a head wobble on the phone with an accent. Of course he's not going to see the head wobble, and when you're doing this on the phone, he's not going to hear it because it's not clear. So in a moment of desperation, I was waiting for some inspiration, and my God, the inspiration came. Because on the 7, I said 7, like the dwarves. And he was like, oh, fantastic, I love it, my favourite cartoon. I was like, oh my God, I'm a genius. I've just invented the phonetic alphabet for numbers. Ishan, do the rest of your mobile phone number exactly like this. So I got to the 5. I said 5, like golden rings. Oh yes, fantastic, Christian, fantastic, brilliant. I was like, okay, great. Got to the 9. Now here's the thing. I hadn't thought that far ahead, because 9 is quite a few digits down, isn't it, right? So I thought further down. I was like, right, 9, what's it going to be? I panicked. I'm not proud of it, but this is what happened. I said 9, like 11. I mean, he was like, oh, that's fantastic. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that at all. That's awful. But on a serious note, though, what I have been doing is I decided to take this opportunity, like a lot of people, I think. I decided that I wanted to lose some weight, and I found this amazing way to do it. Now, I know there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of hoaxes, a lot of fad diets, but I found one that emerged during lockdown. And if any of you are thinking of doing the same thing, I thoroughly recommend it. It's called the Chartwell's Weight Loss Challenge. For just £30 a week, they send you £5 worth of food. It's absolutely brilliant. You eat that £30 worth a week, £5 worth of food, and boy oh boy, do you lose weight quickly. Oh my goodness, right? But talking about weight loss, my partner is of the middle class white variety. And here's something that I've learned about you guys over the last couple of years that I've been with this person. And it's this. A lot of middle class white people, they'll have a very tough week at work, and they'll be like, oh God, I've had such a tough week at work, so many Zoom meetings, it's been so stressful, I just need a day to do nothing. And then you pick up your waterproofs, you'll go to the nearest hill, you walk up it, even though it's raining, it's muddy, it's windy, you do all that for about 2.5, 3 hours to get to the cafe at the end and have some weak soup and some weak tea. Why? Why do you guys love walking so much? What is it? What's the fascination with walking? You love your waterproof. Here's what I don't understand. Walking, camping, Tough Mudder, why do you take the struggles of our ancestors and make it your leisure activity? Can anybody explain this to me? I actually had a bit of grounding in becoming quite an outdoorsy person, because I was actually in the Boy Scouts for a bit, and I was not very good. I was not built for the Boy Scouts in any way, shape or form. And I don't really regret much about my time in the Boy Scouts. It's just during lockdown, I've reflected on it and I thought, do you know what? There were some skills at the Boy Scouts that would have come in really handy during lockdown. I think the one that I regret not learning the most, I wish from Boy Scouts, I learned how to untie the knots from those Chinese takeaway carrier bags. What is it? What is this ancient kind of puzzle that they've got on these carrier bags that if you're able to do it, fortune cookers are going to pop up. All of us, every single one of us, we're ripping the bag open because, there's nothing else we can do. That I wish that was a skill that I learned from people. I feel like the pandemic has dominated so much of the news. And I think a lot of legislation and stuff that's happened, it's kind of passed under the radar. Like in Scotland, up north, I feel like they've tried to deal with it as best as they can given the circumstances, but they had time to pass some legislation, which may have passed you by, right? They passed some legislation to ban smacking, all smacking of children. Now, I don't know where you sit on this at all, and right now I can't get any feedback about the matter. Wherever you sit on this, whether you were smacked as a child, what I find interesting is they banned smacking. And for me, as a middle-class Asian boy, smacking was a big part of my life, right? Because here's the thing, as a middle-class Asian boy, for any minor indiscretion, my mum would beat the living daylights out of me. But my phone manner was impeccable when I called Childline. They absolutely loved it. Every time I called, they was like, oh, did mummy hit you again? Dave, come over here. Listen to how well raised this one is. It was so funny. They always look forward to me calling them. It was brilliant. But it's been a time of reflection. There was a small moment in London, kind of towards the back end of last year, where things were open again. And I actually got to do a live gig for the first time in, like 6, 7, 8 months. And I was so excited about it. And it felt new and it felt different. But what was heartening, and I think we'll find this if hopefully we emerge from this in June, that there's something quite heartening about things not changing very much. I came out at Camden Town Station and this guy came up to me looking quite aggressive. He was like, where are you from? I was like, oh God, I've not had this in so long. it's kind of nice that this is happening. It's like, where are you from? I was like, I'm from London. He goes, don't be clever. Tell me where you're really from. I was like, God, this guy's done his research. He really wants to know where I'm really from. I said, well, my dad's from Pakistan. He goes, no. Tell me which tier you're from. I was like, oh my God, that is so refreshing. That I'm getting tier-based racism. You know what I mean? It's so nice. But I'll tell you what else has been quite nice in terms of my reflections over the last year. Is that given the state of how we've dealt with the pandemic, given the state of the economy, given Brexit, all the kind of difficulties that the country is facing at the moment, I've come to the realisation during lockdown that all the people that used to tell me to go back to where I came from were just looking out for me. You know, my thanks go out to Paul and Steve for just looking out for me, for realising that things were going to be so bad, it's probably worth me taking the get out clause to get out, you know? I feel like we criticise a lot. Like there's a lot of conversations about, oh, white people are racist. And yeah, there is a bit of racism. Of course there is. And I sometimes get really caught up in it. So like, my name is Ishan. That's the way I say it to white people. To my family, it's Ishan. What do I prefer? Probably Ishan on balance. Because as I'm getting older, I'm like, do you know what? I need more of my identity. And I realise that my name is something that a lot of people seem to struggle with. And I used to get, over time, I was starting to get a bit more annoyed with it. Like, it's 2 syllables, Ishan, it's not that hard, just say it. In fact, I had a colleague once who said, mate, there's too many syllables in your name, can I call you Eddie? And I was like, that's the same number of syllables, I don't understand what you're talking about. It doesn't make any sense. But I'll get really annoyed about it as I'm growing older. I'm like, why can't they get my name right? It's Ishan. It's so easy. I don't understand why people don't have respect for my name. It's just an Asian name. Just say it. Say my name. It's not that easy. And then I see an Irish name. And then I'm like, hey, do you know what? Some names are just hard to pronounce, right? Siobhan, Aoife, AOIFZ X27. What? How is that Aoife? Doesn't make any sense to me. But I tell you what, I got really addicted over the last couple of months to this show called The Great British Sewing Bee. I don't know if you've seen it. It is so good. If you haven't seen The Great British Sewing Bee, I thoroughly recommend you see it. It's these really nice, twee, middle-class people, and they do amazing things. They turn like trousers into shirts, shirts into trousers, all sorts of wonderful stuff. I got so addicted to this programme, I thought to myself, right, I want to see an international version of the Great British Sewing Bee, right? Because I want to see the British champion of the Great British Sewing Bee lose to a 6-year-old from Bangladesh. That would be so good. That would be so good. But things are looking up, right? Things are looking up. We've had an announcement, which means that we should hopefully be out of this by June. More and more people are getting vaccinated. It's really positive. Across the pond, whatever your political persuasions, people are feeling a little bit more hopeful now that Joe Biden is in power. I got really happy when Joe Biden got elected, actually. Not so much because of Trump, because Joe Biden, at the age of 78, got elected as the President of the United States. And now, him being 78, I can finally turn the tables on my dad and be like, Dad, see, look at him. At his age, he's becoming president. What are you doing? You're planning to retire? For shame. Why don't you get another job? Finally, it feels so good to actually turn the tables around on my dad. My dad, actually, he's not planning on retiring. He's 61. But my dad has played a big part of how I've been feeling over the last couple of months, right? Because my dad, right, he's a paramedic. Round of applause for paramedics and health workers, absolutely amazing. And my dad, he's 61 years old. He's Asian, surprise. He's diabetic, surprise. He works in healthcare. So COVID has been looking at my dad going, I want that one. And it has terrified me, right? So I live with my dad because comedy is going brilliantly. And I said to my dad, Dad, look, you're 61, you're Asian, you're diabetic, you work in healthcare. I'm really worried. I don't think you should be going out there to work. And my dad took one look at me and he said, son, I would rather be out there. Which I found quite offensive. Like, my dad would rather be out there in the middle of a global pandemic than hang out with his firstborn. Am I that boring? And I was thinking to myself, What is it? Why does my dad want to go out to work in the middle of a global pandemic to hang out with me? Is it because he spent 35 years in the NHS and he's really committed to his job and he really wants to help people? Or is the real reason that my dad, the paramedic, is risking his life every day to go to work in the hospital, is the real reason that he's cheating on me with the doctor's son he always really wanted? But I reckon my dad's going into the hospital and talking to, I don't know, Rakesh, let's call it, probably is a bloody Rakesh, isn't it? Going, oh, Rakesh, I'm so proud of you. You fulfilled my dream and became a doctor. Oh, Rakesh, I'm so proud of you. You bought a car with your own money. So over the last couple of months, I've been doing some crazy things trying to win over my dad's affections. Like he goes to work. One day he went to work. I got some aromatic candles, put them in the hallway, cooked him his favourite meal. He came home, looked at it all, and went, oh, I've got a headache. I'm going to go to bed. Which is what a cheater would say. And then a couple of weeks later, he came home and I dressed up like a doctor, went to the top of the stairs. I was like, hello, Daddy. Hello, Daddy. You want me to check your blood... I don't know why I did the accent. You want me to check your blood pressure? And then I was like, take that person, that's really weird. You do it. So then I've come to realise that having been cheated on before, one thing I did then, that I'm replicating now, is I think the only way to try and win my dad's affections back is by making him jealous. Do you know what I mean? So now, when I go on my daily mandated walk, I'm scouring the streets for 61-year-old Pakistani men, but I needn't have worried because in this technological age, I found an app where there's tons of 61-year-old Pakistani men. It's called Uber. Oh, it's so good. I've been making so many unnecessary trips around the block and making the guy stay. My dad comes, I'm like, this is Hassan. He dropped me. He's a better dad than you. Remember when you used to take me everywhere? Now it's Hassan's turn. Ha! Let's see if that works out. Well, guys, look, you've been really, really lovely. I think. I don't know. I mean, it's just nice to be able to do something like this. I hope you've enjoyed some, if not all, of my comedy. If you haven't, that's absolutely fine. You know, comedy is inherently subjective. I'm doing a good thing, so it's good for my karma, ultimately. And my name is Romesh Ranganathan. I know some of you were thinking it for a very, very long time. But look, if you have enjoyed any of my stuff, please do find me on social media. On all social media platforms, I'm called Michael Packentire. Brilliant. Good luck, look after yourself, stay well.
Thank you very much to Romesh Ranganathan. Ishan Akbar. Yeah, it's clearly Ishan Akbar. Well, just one act left to go. And what a fantastic act it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Joe Brand.
So, here we go, guys. Now, just let me say a little bit about myself and Alzheimer's Society. I have been a supporter of Alzheimer's Society since 2001. It's quite a long time, isn't it? And I think round about 2009, I became an ambassador. And I only did that because I thought we'd get some Ferrero Rocher. Sadly, it hasn't turned up yet, but I'm sure it will. Now, as a comedian and an ex-nurse, my motto is laughter is the best medicine. Although I find, unfortunately, that tends not to work in the case of impotence. Now, there's no connection between this and the next subject at all. I just want to talk about my dad for a bit because, very sadly, my dad ended up getting Alzheimer's in his late 70s, I would say. He was always a bit of an interesting guy, my dad. He was blunt to the point of rudeness, which could be entertaining or upsetting. And he just said quite odd things from time to time. I remember when I started doing comedy, that would have been back in 1986, and my dad was probably about 45, 50 at the time, maybe a little bit older. And he said to me one day, "What do you wear when you go on stage?" And I said, "Well, you know, I just wear what I normally wear, this sort of thing." And he said, "Don't you wear a hat?" What does that mean? I have no idea what he was thinking about. And he never really said to me that he liked my comedy very much, or that he watched me on TV. And I always heard things that he thought about me kind of via other people. He was a really keen walker. He used to go rambling with a big group. But one day he was out on his own when he was a little bit older, and he met a very well-known West End actress. And he told me the story, and he said to her he thought she was brilliant, and then he couldn't help himself, but he said, oh, my daughter's a stand-up comedian. And I was like, oh, he's proud of me, that's lovely. And he then turned to me and went, she doesn't think much of you. So that obviously put me in my place. Later on in life, just before he started to become ill, he decided that he didn't want a bench in his memory after he died. He wanted one while he was still alive. So there was a lovely woodland that we used to walk in. So he had a bench made with his favourite poem engraved on it. And he had it sort of put up in the woodland. And every time we went to visit him, we used to walk past it and have a sit on it. Slightly weird thing to do, I suppose. And one day we were walking up there, and there was a really sweet elderly couple sitting on his bench. And I thought, oh, that's so sweet. People are using his bench. And he went up to them and went, can you get off, please? This is my bench. And chased them away. So there you go. My dad lived in a flat on his own as he started to become worse and worse, and he was kind of wandering at night and that sort of thing. He lived like 150 miles away from us, so he ended up moving into a really lovely residential home, and then he fell. Can I just say, one thing that really annoys me, when people get older, they don't fall over, they have a fall. Why is that? It's really annoying. So he fell over, okay, and he broke his femur, sadly, and then the residential home that he was in wouldn't have him back, and he went into a nursing home, and very sadly sort of deteriorated from there. But I will always say, you know, the Alzheimer Society was a source of kind of great comfort to me, because I would kind of read stuff online that would all be very helpful. And actually, I was a nurse for about 10 years, I think, before I did this so-called comedy thing. You might be sitting there going, what comedy? I haven't heard any yet. Well, when you're a student, you're not very good at anything, because you know you have to learn it. And because we were degree nurses, we were felt to be so intelligent that we didn't need to have a general hospital placement to learn the physical side of nursing. So what that actually meant was we were crap at the physical side. All we'd done, say, giving injections wise, which is why I would never want to be let loose on anyone that needs a vaccine. We practised on oranges in the School of Nursing, and that was our only experience. The first person I ever gave an injection to was a very thin woman who weighed 5.5 stone in her late 60s. And to be honest, it was horrendous, and I just had to follow her around for 2 hours afterwards to make sure she didn't keel over. And I was also slightly squeamish, which is not really very good if you're a nurse. I attended a lumbar puncture one day with a doctor that had never done one before. I was chaperoning the person, and this is where you have to draw some cerebral spinal fluid from the bottom of someone's spine with a massive, great syringe and needle. And he was quite nervous. This poor woman was lying in fetal position on a bed. It was the middle of August. It was absolutely boiling hot. And let's just say he wasn't very good at it. And after 8 goes, this poor woman was really getting desperate. And he said to me, I'll just have one last go. So he knelt down, so his eye level was with the base of her spine, just about to wield the needle. And it was so hot, and I'd so had enough. I was leaning against the side. I fainted, and I fell over on top of him, knocking him onto the floor. And the poor patient sat up on the bed and went, oh, thank you, nurse, thank you. And I think that's probably the best thank you that I've ever had as a nurse. So there we go. Now let's move on from nursing, in case some of you are kind of like a little bit squeamish. I do a show called Extra Slice, which is a bake-off show. I am rubbish at baking completely, I will admit it. During lockdown, I tried to do a bit of baking. It's very mathematical and very annoying baking. So my husband, he said, let's make some pudding, and he made an apple crumble and I made the custard, and he said, I'm not going to put any more sugar in because you're sweet enough. And I said, well, I'm not putting any more corn flour in because you're thick enough. So, we get on well. And I must just say, cakes-wise, I have absolutely zilch taste at all for a posh cake. And I got fed up one year and I thought, I'm not having another one of those patisserie cakes with fruit on it and a glaze of what looks like phlegm. What is that stuff? I've got no idea. So I ordered my own cake from M&S, and it was a child's cake, and it was bright green, so it always had loads of E numbers in it. Yum. And I thought, for a laugh for my friends, I'll put something to make them have a bit of a giggle on it. So I asked them to put, you're a very old woman and you're going to die soon. This is a true story, by the way. Yeah, I'm not horrible. It was just for a laugh. Anyway, so they did that. I went to pick it up 2 weeks later, and there was the cake, bright yellow, bright green, brilliant. And yet engraved on it was Happy Retirement Wendy. And so that means that poor Wendy, at her retirement party, got a cake that said, you're a very old woman, you're going to die soon. So my life is a search to find Wendy and apologise if anyone ever meets her. Now, as someone who's worked in the theatre a lot, it's been really difficult for stand-ups, and I can't quite believe that last year I was actually doing panto. It's such a weird thought, isn't it? It just all seems so different now. And I did panto in Richmond, which I'm sure you know is quite posh. And I was the Wicked Queen, and I was told that I had to do my own makeup. Well, how do you do Wicked Queen makeup? Just show your normal face, love. Yeah, fair enough. But I managed to get a makeup artist to give me a lesson, and when she was kind of painting my face up, once I'd learned it, I had to do it myself every night. I said to her, "Oh, that's really helpful. Do you work in TV?" And she went, "No, I work in horror films." So that was me told. And I think panto's a bit weird for women, particularly because people keep shouting, "He's behind you," which is not something most women want to hear a lot of the time. So that was a bit weird. And actually, I have to say that the makeup artist and several people have said to me, because in this day and age, everyone's having work done on their face, aren't they? They've said to me, I really admire you for not having any work done on your face. Well, that's actually not true. I have had work done on my face. I asked for a craggy hill shepherd, and I think it's worked rather well. Now, I have to just tell two little stories about two lovely kids in the audience. Well, one was in the audience and one was at Tesco's when I was shopping earlier on Christmas Eve. The boy in the audience, he was just shouting at me, "You're horrible! You should be killed!" Quite, extreme for a sort of 8-year-old. And so I looked at him, fixed him with my eye, and said, "Right, for saying that to me, I am going to give you some extra work to do." And he turned to his mum in a really loud voice and he went, "But Mummy, I've done all my homework for the whole holidays." So Richmond. And also I was in Tesco's earlier in the day, and there was a mum and a son. I think the son was about 6, and they were walking around Tesco's picking up bits and pieces here and there, and the boy turned to his mum, handed her a half-eaten bar of chocolate and went, "Mummy, I think I've had enough chocolate for one day." Well, I felt like calling social services. I mean, what was wrong with him? Anyway, let's move on to my lovely husband. I'm happily married. Unfortunately, he's not, but what can you do? And I had to sit in A&E with him recently whilst he had 17 stitches removed. That'll teach him to buy me a sewing kit for my birthday. And, actually he doesn't really tell me off about many things, and he's obviously quite worried about saying stuff about my weight because, I might get him on the floor and pummel him with a cake. So he does hints, and my last birthday he bought me a dress that was 2 sizes too small, and as he handed it over to me he went, "Look forward to seeing you in it." So, for his birthday, is that making a noise? Is that heckling me, that curtain? Oh no, it's slightly trying to fall down, but don't worry, we'll get through. Yeah, so let's go back. So he bought me a dress that was 2 sizes too small, and as he handed it over to me, he went, "Look forward to seeing you in it." So for his birthday, I bought him a coffin. Hope your lockdown's been all right. It's hard, isn't it? It's so hard in lockdown. But there's some funny bits to it, like Amazon people have started behaving like kind of naughty schoolboys, haven't they? So they ring the doorbell, and then when you go and open the door, they've run away, which I always find quite entertaining. The other thing is I've invented a game called Domestic Jenga, which is basically don't tidy up. So every surface has got loads of stuff piled on it, and then you try and get the thing right at the bottom without bringing everything down. It's very good fun. My favourite lockdown headline was on the BBC website, and it said, "It's crystal clear that drunk people do not socially distance." Duh, you don't say. Now, one thing I did try during lockdown is I tried to keep fit. And I can hear you going, "Oh, you're not going to talk about weight, are you?" Briefly, and what I can guarantee is that 35.82% extra of you might be interested, because that's how many people have put on weight during lockdown. So well done you. Now, I did actually go to my GP some time ago when I was a little bit worried I was putting on weight, and this is absolutely true. I stepped on the scales and my GP looked down and actually went, "Fuck a duck." She's quite posh, but it was very entertaining. And she said to me, just do something a couple of times a week that gets you slightly out of breath. So I started smoking again. It's been brilliant. And finally, I just want to tell you, I'm 63 years old. I know I look a bit older because of my Craggy Hill Shepherd face work, but I've been trying to embrace getting older. I like to look in the paper and find adverts for varicose veins open evenings and things like that. Although I think one thing as a woman about getting a bit older is coughing's a bit of a lottery, isn't it? Especially if you're out for a run. You're never quite sure what you're going to get, earth, wind or fire. So you just have to be a bit careful. And I read a few hints online about how to keep fit during lockdown. And one of them said, go up and down your stairs at home 46 times a day. What? I've got teenagers. I must go up and down about 170 times a day. Teenagers, I love them actually. And I kind of decided to myself that I was going to embrace their lovely temper with me sometimes. So I said to one of my daughters recently, she said, "Oh, I want to get in touch with so-and-so." And I said, "Well, why don't you send them an email?" And she went, "Because I'm not 100 years old." Okay, point taken. Another of my daughters, I've only got 2, the other daughter said to me not so long ago, "Oh God, Mum, you're so moist." I went, I think you'll find not since the menopause. Oh no. I've decided with my teenagers I'm gonna wait for one of them on the day she leaves school, and I'm gonna sit in the car, and as she comes out the school gate with her mates, I'm gonna wind down the window and go, "I've pissed myself," and just see what she does. That must be quite embarrassing. It will be, won't it? So guys, it's really been lovely talking to you. It's been weird, it's been magic, it's been marvellous. I don't even know if you've been lovely, but I'm just assuming you have been. So lovely to see you. Take care and a very good night. Good night.
Well, I can confirm that you have all been lovely. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting Alzheimer's Society, and thank you so much for donating. Every donation tonight means that someone affected by dementia can continue to benefit from lifeline support and overcome the challenges the pandemic has created day by day. So I would just like to thank you all on behalf of Alzheimer's Society for your generosity this evening. We're almost at the end of our time together, but I'd just like to say how much I've enjoyed being in my own home, not being able to see you, but hosting this event. And I've genuinely enjoyed it. The technology has thrown me out. I'm almost certain at some point my head will have been replaced by that of a cat, but who cares? Remember, laughter really is the best medicine, and apologies to Lloyd's Pharmacy for saying that. But in the meantime, good night. See you again soon.